All right, so here's what we've got. Sorry, I'm on my phone here. I thought I was going to have my laptop. I've got all these documents on my laptop.
John, you want me to go first? And then, you know, I can use mine.
I've got it here.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay,
first things first. When I talk about progression, here's what I mean by progression. When we're teaching, and anything you've ever been taught in schools, anything that's just teaching purposes, you have to have a method to how you teach and why you teach that way. I'm a big progression guy. When I say the word progression, I'm referring to the process in which something is learned, the process in which something is taught. So I'm a very, very big believer in there's foundations to O-line play that if you just put a guy out there and try to teach him to pass block a 5 technique, he's not going to do very well if you haven't taught him the fundamentals up to the techniques he's using. So how did I design our progression? Watching film over the years, things that our kids struggle with, techniques that a good lineman, you know, line play, I don't care what your scheme is, if you have good line technique, you'll play well in any scheme if you learn the X's and O's and the way it's called. Okay? So by progression, I change our progression periodically just by the more I study it. I used to be, progression-wise, I used to start everything out of a stance. Now I'm a big believer of I teach things backwards. So I work from the fit position almost first in run blocking, and then I progress to the 3-point stance. Why? Well, issues lead to development. Something I ran into a couple years ago is we were coming off the ball, and we were really good on our 2-step punch, but we weren't getting movement. We were hitting and stopping our feet. So the more I studied it, now we rushed for a lot of yards, but I thought it could have been better. So I started working from the drive phase first and felt like once you get a good feel for driving your man, getting to that position is pretty easy. So since we've worked from the drive phase, we had an offensive lineman last year that had 98 pancakes in 12 games, which is pretty good. It really changed our ability to move guys off the ball. So what I'm going to take you through here, any lineman that comes into our organization is going to be taught how to run block in this progression. Okay, so we teach these first things first, and then we progress to the combos and whatnot. So that's how we do this. Most of you that have taught line play, you already know the basis of any good lineman has to do with feet. So we start off with what we call duck walks, lineman feet. Did this with guys today. All right. We start off with footwork first, and then from footwork we're going to work on fits. Duck walk is short 6-inch steps. Notice all cleats are in the ground on the inside of the shoe. Why duck walk? Why is it called that way? Well, duck tend to have their feet kind of waddled out a little bit. Good linemen, your heels are in, toes are out, and have duck-footed position. Here it is from straight ahead. See how the toes are out, heels are slightly in, and then you rock the weight to the inside of your shoes. Okay, good. Next thing we do, as I mentioned, how the hell do I pause this?
You play button.
Makes sense. Hit play to pause it. Okay. After we teach proper footwork, because in order to do the drive face, you have to have proper footwork. The next thing we do is we work drive fits. Again, I didn't used to do this. I've changed this in the last 2 years, and this has been better for our play on the field. We start off with what we call a fit and lean drill. Then we're going to go into drive. Then we're going to go to a push-pull drill. Fit and lean. We get our lineman in a good fit position. Bent knees, heavy on the hands, leaning forward. I'm big on key terms. Run blocking for us is chest over knees over toes. Because if you put your chest over your knees over your toes, you're bent. Pass blocking is head over shoulders over hips. All right, so these are terms that we use constantly with our linemen. So this is a fit lean. We do this to make sure one of the common things you get with young linemen is they tend to hit, but they don't put their weight. They don't put their weight into what they're hitting. How many times have you been on a sled with young guys where they hit and they can't coil the bag? It's not for lack of strength. It's they're not putting their weight into their hit. So we work the weight into the block first things first. This also helps, as we talked about in the weight room earlier, we really don't feel like young guys, it's hard for you to get glute control and use your hips. So we do this to learn how to really use our hips right away. All we're doing is fitting, driving through our feet, learning how to put all our weight into the bag. This kid right here is pretty good. He's just committed to play football at Marshall. This kid right here was a freshman All-American last year as a guard. He's a real good player. And this one's going to play Division III ball and was an All-State D lineman for us. Pretty easy drill. All right, now that we've been in the fit position, I had the fit drive. Here we go. All right, so I'm not used to using this thing. Pause. Let me go back. Here we go. I'm probably just going to use this and a little better just using the pad. All right, once we've learned the fit, now we're going to put it together. Now we've got to get the feet moving. We work first steps, okay? Because once I'm good on my fit position with my body lean, now I've got to learn how to take the right steps to get me to the blocking position. Does that make sense? All right, so the next thing we'll teach is footwork on first steps. We work on lines constantly. The reason I like to work on lines, Daniel, you notice I did that a lot today. The reason I work on the line is I always have them toe lines so I can see how far somebody's first step is. If your toe's on the line, if he's taking his first step, his toes should pass the line, the middle of his foot should be in the line. That really helps me. It's a way to watch 20 guys go at the same time. All right, I can't just sit there and watch one guy's foot to see if it's moved. If I put everybody on a line, I can stand to the side and off to the distance and really see what their feet are doing on first step. Short 6-inch steps with everything we do. We cock our hands on our first step. Now, a lot of different line guys are teaching things really different now. If any of you have ever watched these college coaches now, they're doing a lot of lateral steps and chesting guys up. I hate it. All right, why? Because it's really good if all your linemen bench 450 pounds and weigh 330. All right, our average high school kid is not that kid. Our average kid is not going to be able to take a lateral step, chest you, and lift you up by your breastplate underneath to move you. I hate lateral movement for an offensive lineman. I like to come off the ball, get power and flat back into people. I'm a big believer in moving the line of scrimmage. The game started that way, and to me, that's the way you play football. And even when we zone, we're still pretty physical on our zone blocking. So we work right hand stance, left hand stance. Everybody's got to move out of every direction. And just teaching first step. On the first step, we should cock our hands. And we work inside foot and outside foot on this. After that, we should two-step. Second step, we punch. We cock our hands and load our hands on the first step. Punch on the second step. And that's our duck walk drill. So you see the progression from the first step out of the stance to the duck walk now. We're going to start to put drills together as we go. Now that we've come out of our stance, so we worked duck walk, we worked our fit and lean, then we worked our three-point stance first step. Now we're going to progress all three of those together. So now we can come out of a three-point stance. We know how to do those footwork. We know how to duck walk to drive the bag, and we know how to finish the block because we've done the drive fit position. Does that make sense? So I've worked it in different phases that I feel like have really helped us teach it better. Something worth noting. Are all of you, is anybody in here not a two-step punch guy up front with the O-line? Are you all two-step? Like you cock your hands, load your hands on the first step, punch on the second? Is anybody not doing that? Okay, all right, good.
Something. Can I ask a question, Clark?
Yeah.
Why are you extending your hands that much backwards? Aren't you losing time?
Good question. Because in my experience of coaching, I didn't used to do that. Whatever I teach, I get half of that in a game. I don't really, like if you ever, like line coaches everywhere are going to tell you 6-inch steps. If you have linemen taking 6-inch steps, you're overstriding. And I've sat there and measured it and watched my linemen do it. But if I teach them 4-inch steps, they don't ever step in a game. If I teach 6-inch steps, they'll take a 4-inch step in a game. I feel like with line play, it's so technical and it's so physical up front on every play, you never get the full out of it. So the reason I have us throw our hands all the way back, you see our guy standing behind him with his hands on his hips? We make him smack the hands in drills in the game. The reason I started doing this, I got this from the University of Nevada. It's pretty good stuff, and they've had some success up front. Because they weren't doing it in a game. They were reaching and touching guys right away. By overemphasizing it in practice, they don't do this in a game. None of my game film sees my guys do this. But you do see their elbows come back and punch. Does that make sense? So we overemphasize it in practice to get a little bit of it in a game. And I didn't used to be that way, but the longer I've coached them, the more I sit there and I go, well, shit, I know we cock our hands on the first step all the time, but we're not doing it in the game. So I was watching the coach from the University of Nevada. He does the same thing. They throw their hands way back. But in a game, they're here. And he just felt, and it's worked for us. It's done the same thing. Another thing worth noting is if you teach this, but you don't have your line back off the ball, it doesn't matter. If your guards and tackles are helmet to helmet with your center, and you go to 2-step punch, what's going to happen right away? The D-line is going to have his hands in your chest, and you're going to be back here with your hands back. So you've got to be back off the ball, creating space between the D-line in order to get the power from your second step to punch. And the reason we punch on the second step is that's where your power is going to come from. D-line's goal is to get their hands on you right away. O-line, we want to get 2 feet in the ground before contact so we have more power. We back as far off the ball as we can. We put our helmet, per the rule, our helmet has to break the plane of the center to be on the line. We do that. My guards are that far back. Unless you'll see some film, we cheat on certain plays. If we're down blocking, I don't want space like that. If I'm zoning or pulling, I do. So you'll notice some plays where our right side of our line is all the way up on the ball and the left side is all the way back. That means my right side's down blocking, my left side's probably pulling. And D-line don't pick up on that very well in a game scheme. If you have a really good guy, he'll notice somebody's closer to him, but in general, they tend not to. Yeah, so that's why we slap hands, just to over-exaggerate. So if we do that now in a game, we're going to get a little bit of it. Now notice how I'm just doing first step first, because I want him to be chest over knees over toes, have a little weight forward. Then we'll reload and we'll 2-step punch, and then we'll fit and we'll fall. I'm just trying to get them out of their stance with weight forward. Does that make sense? Why am I having them fall down? Because I want to know when we go to hit somebody, we have weight into the person. So that's why we do this.
So that's going to be your center?
He actually plays guard for us. His brother's the starting center at UK. He's going to be a really good football player. He'll be a center at the next level. So here's the progression again. Notice how we're working on a line. I like to work on lines to make sure that we're driving guys. I can see things better. Notice how when we fit, we should have body lean into the guy. Notice this guy up top, way up here. See how he hits, and then you see him start to lean. He didn't have much weight into him, so we're yelling at him there to get some weight forward. Now make them roll their hips at the end to finish the block. So 2-step punch, fit, lean, drive. Same thing here. All right, now you're going to notice in the O-line, we did this today just out of a fit position. Notice how we're hitting. Look at all the weight we have forward into the block now because we're used to working with that weight. So I don't have feet stopping. You see how their feet are running right away, guys? Normally we would hit and stop our feet and reset. Now we're not. Once we get a D lineman on his heels, we're going to roll our hips to finish the block right there. Boom. That's what we're working, just finishing the block, putting as much weight as we can into it. Same concept. We work this at different angles. We work it at 45-degree angles as well. This has helped us a lot getting more weight into the blocks and driving with more power. Here you're going to see some examples of this in a game. This is our tight end up top. See him drive and extend and roll his hips towards the end of the block when he gets his guy. Once he feels his guy's on his heels, he's going to drive, 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 extend, and finish. Same thing, left tackle here. See him drive, 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 extend his hips, stays on his block, finishes when he gets a chance to. Right over here. Drive, 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 feels him on his heels, roll your hips, finish the block. Okay, now we work, a lot of you guys work zone techniques, correct? A lot of you are running inside zone. So we take the same concepts now and we apply it to angles, zone right, zone left, whatever that first step's going to be. So these are going to be the same techniques working at different angles. Now one thing I want to point out, have we been in pads in all these drills? No. And the reason being, something that's becoming a very big issue in the United States is concussions. All right, concussions and injuries. I have a really good first unit, but my 6th O lineman is a major drop-off for me. He's just not ready to play yet. So I do everything I can to stay healthy and still be physical on Friday nights. We're only in pads. We're in pads on Tuesday. We're in full pads with like controlled contact. Wednesday we tend to be in shells. I'm not in pads the rest of the week because I just have got to keep my guys healthy. By the end of the season, we're typically in pads one day. But we do as much as we can to keep everybody healthy.
All right, Coach, a question for you.
Yes.
Considering the forward lean in the drive block, do you guys see a lot of D-lines keying on that and kind of just stepping and letting you guys...
Keying on what?
Like on the forward lean and really the hard
like
push.
Trying to avoid us? And
yeah, well,
down?
kind of just letting you guys fall on the ground.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake because if I'm running zone,
yeah.
If you have a 3 technique here on my right shoulder, it's a good question, and I'm heavy on my hand and I'm firing off to drive him and he jumps outside to avoid,
Yeah.
guess what we're going to do? We're going to crease that gap he just avoided.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we get a little bit of it. But for the most part, and I'm a big believer of, I like to be heavy on the hand when we're running the ball. I don't care if they see my knuckles are white. Because if I do things the right way with the right techniques, they still have to stop it. Okay? And let's be honest, most D linemen are dumb.
Yeah.
Very few D linemen are lining up in the right place, knowing where to go, and sitting there going, oh, he's got white knuckles. He's going to drive block me right now. They talk about all that, but in a game, they don't do that shit. All right? They're sitting there.
I was a defensive lineman.
Do what?
I was a defensive lineman.
Yeah. They, I digress. I digress. You'll run across some guys that are really good at stuff like that. You'll run into some guys that'll pick up a call throughout a game, but for the most part, your D linemen aren't going to pick up on these kind of things. And I have some tricks from when we pass pro. We show white knuckles without putting weight forward. We just push the fingertips down to show white knuckles to make it look like we're coming off the ball. We do a lot of those things too to kind of adjust to those guys. We don't get a lot of avoiding like that. You know, what we deal with most of the time is we're so good at coming off the ball, we play a lot of teams in Kentucky that they think it's smart to cut our linemen. So they'll submerge us. You know, we get those submarine techniques a lot, which is ridiculous. It's really good coaching. I think I got a clip here, but it's not going to show, is it?
It should show.
How do I get out of full screen?
Exit.
I hit it.
Go there.
It's not letting me out, Sebastian.
Let me help you.
How do I can't get to my scroll down.
2 fingers.
Like
On the touchpad, just use 2 fingers.
Oh. I think I'm here. I'm just kidding. Holy shit, I'm so bad on these Apple computers. It's like a foreign
Yeah, it's
device.
Apple's fault.
Don't you want to go learn DB play? I can't get this clip to come up.
It might be like some clips don't work for some reason.
Huh. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get in. So that's our technique. We teach our base drive. Next, we're going to get into linebacker level. Working linebacker level. Now, you're going to deal with a lot of guys who do a lot of different things. Was it you and I talked about this earlier?
Yeah.
All right, I teach something very different at linebacker level than most. Most O-line coaches are going to tell your linemen to keep a wide base, work to that linebacker under control. I think that's bullshit. All right, do linebackers stand there and wait for you to get to them to go to the ball? No. And typically we face a lot of linebackers who can flat run. All right, so while I'm sitting here being all worried about my technique when I'm not blocking somebody, he's gone. If I don't take a great angle, I'm in trouble. So I'm a big believer of we sprint through backers. I'm trying to knock him on his ass. I'm not coming to balance. I'm not worried about slowing down to get to him. I make my linemen know where the ball could go. When we call power, they know it's an A-gap run play. So they should know how the ball moves the linebackers. Does that make sense? They know that if we run our Falcon East, that's fly give to the right, they know that cat's running that way. I've got to get on an angle to cut him off. All right, so I make them learn that. That being said, we are full speed through linebackers. We do not come to balance. We do not worry about fits and techniques. We're trying to truck them. We're looking for highlight film hits on linebackers. So I teach this full speed, full throttle on our reach and runs, everything. We're working outside zone techniques, what we call a veer technique if we're avoiding a guy to get the second level. Once we get hands on them, a term that I use a lot is I'll say climb them like a tree. Like if I was running to a tree to climb it, and you guys have ever climbed a tree, you grab that first branch, what do your feet have to do? Unless you're doing a straight pull up and you're climbing a tree, where do you have to do your feet? You got to kind of use your feet to get up the trunk, right? So I tell them that. I want to climb him like a tree. I'm going to hit him and I'm going to try to run my feet up his body like if he was a tree, which is going to put me all over him right now. Here you're going to see this is our inside trap. Look at how quick we get to second level. You're going to notice these linebackers, they barely get their read steps down before we're on them. I don't want them to have time to react. I want to get on them and let our backs make decisions. So we're going to avoid. So you're going to see our right guard right here. He's going to avoid, and he's gone right now. He doesn't slow down. He gets into him, takes him where he wants to go, runs his feet. Same thing on the other backer. Over here, we're going to hit him, take him where he wants to go, just stay on him and run him, run him, run him. John, this might be some veer. You'll like this. Some good old veer. You see my right guard here. Watch his down block. Boom, to backer now. We're going to him right away. That backer gets a half a step in before I'm on him. And we're the same way with our zone techniques. John, you'd like that fullback. He's the Air Force has offered that fullback.
I'm telling you right now, that your guard, he may not have been great for you, but this is a great football. It's great fundamental hits.
That guard's going to Center College. He was an all-state player. Yeah, I love really good player.
Man, you're talking about getting off the ball, guys. Woo.
He's a 375 bencher too. All right, I want you to notice something here with our tight end. All right, do you guys see how heavy he is on his hand? Do you see all the weight, how he's flat backed and his hand's way out in front of him? It doesn't matter. Watch this. I don't care if they see it. You see how he comes into this? Does this look like our fit drive drill right there with his flat back and his lean? That's what we want. And his feet never stop. Look at my linemen's feet across the board. See how their feet are always moving forward. There's our All-American starting tailback at Alabama that can't pick up his damn feet and get by a safety. It's probably somebody else's fault, though. Here our tight end on a 7 technique. See how low his pads are. See how bent he is. Runs his feet. Now we work these different angles. This is what we call a pin block. So if we have a down block, we call that a pin block. All right, so once we get through our base drive tracks and then we're through linebacker level, the next thing we're going to teach is a series of blocks. All right, now I do define a lot of terms. The reason I use terms on different blocks, and I don't just call everything the same block, the reason I do that is because when my players come off the field during a game, for me to be a good coach and make adjustments, we have to be able to have a conversation that I understand. So when my lineman comes off and says, Coach, he's in the gap, I can't block him. Well, there's like there's 9 gaps. All right, I don't know what the hell that means. I can't make him have success by that. Now, if he can look at me and go, Coach, he's a 2-eye, I went to pin him, I took a pin step, and he beat me across my face. Okay, well, a pin block for us is a 2-phase block. We stop penetration and pursuit. So that tells me my lineman got too much weight forward across the guy's face, and he probably didn't get the hand on the shoulder pad and get his hip into him to play over the top, so I can make that fix really easily with my guy. So that's why I make them learn the technology the way I use it. Pin block for us is a gap down block. Most of your schemes, there's 2 kinds of schemes. There's zone schemes and there's pin pull schemes. That's what the run game is. All right? Whether you're trapping or whatever it is, if somebody's trapping, somebody's filling for them. If somebody's pulling, somebody's down blocking. So we work those 2 schemes constantly. If you are a defensive line that plays lateral, you get all these teams that slant and move on you. I'm going to zone you. I'm going to run inside and outside zone on movers. Because if this 3 technique likes to go to that A gap, I'm going to let my center block him and let my guard get up to the second level. If you're penetrators and you're heavy on your hand and you're flying up through these gaps, penetrators means they're shooting gaps. It's hard for me to zone reach a guy that's flying through a gap right now. So I'm going to pin him with the tackle and pull my guard. We pin penetrators, we zone readers. I picked that up at Auburn while we were there, and we had a lot of success in the run game doing that. And so I asked our guys right away after the first series on offense, I asked them, are they penetrators or are they readers? They can tell. I mean, you guys, how many of you have played line? You can tell. Is he coming hard into me, or is he lateral reading my hips and my movements? That tells me how our run game is going to go from there in a football game. We go into every game with pin pull schemes and zone schemes. And we do the same thing in the backfield off of them. But that way, that allows my linemen to have more success in a game. On our pin block is a 2-phase block. This is our tight end pinning here. A pin is a down block. It's the same thing. Down block is a pin for us. Okay? I've got to gain ground on that step. The worst thing you will see linemen do is if I'm going to block down on him here, if you're in the proper line stance, unless you're true triple option, a lot of true triple option teams will do the opposite of this. If I'm on the right side of the ball, what stance should I be in? Right-handed. If I'm on the left side, which stance? Left-handed. If you are a true triple option based team, a lot of coaches will switch that because you do so much down blocking. It's actually easier to down block with your inside leg back. But if I'm pass protecting, which foot should always be up? My inside or outside foot if I'm pass blocking? Inside foot. That stops the inside move. That protects the quarterback's inside. I don't ever want to get beat inside and have my quarterback get hit up in A gaps. So because of that, that's why our stance on the right side of the ball is left foot forward. That's why we do that. Well, it's a lot harder to pick up that inside foot when it's forward and step down on a down block. So I let my guys, we cheat this stuff all the time. If I'm down blocking to the left, I'm going to load the inside of my right foot. Not the leg. I'm not going to lean my body. I'm going to load the inside of those cleats. So now, there's no weight on this foot. What's this foot do really well now? Moves. If I have a lot of weight on the inside of this foot, what's it hard to make it do? Everybody stand up for me real quick. Stand on your right foot. Stand on your right foot by itself. Now take a short 6-inch step with your right foot. No, don't jump. Don't jump. Just step. Can't do it, can you? Do you see why we do that? I make them go ahead and sit down. I make them load their feet so they don't step with the wrong foot. So if I have all my weight on my right foot, it forces me to move my left foot because I can't move my right foot. So right here, our tight end's loaded his right foot to step with his left. The first phase of that pin block is we stop penetration. Penetration means the guy's doing what? Firing up field, right? Well, If they're penetrators, I can't go to where he is to stop his penetration because on the snap of the ball, where's he going? Here. So instead of stepping at him, where do I need to step? Flat down the line. That's stopping penetration. That's why we pin penetrators. Now, if he's a reader and he's looping and I step here and he's looped, I'm in trouble, aren't I? So we've got to know what we're getting up front for certain schemes, and that helps our run game quite a bit. I'm going to speed through this a little bit here. I think our tight end here is on the pin block again here on the left side. It's our tackle right here. This is a good example. All right, this is actually a really good rep here. Our tackle here is going to pin down on this 3 technique. This 3 technique steps and then tries to play over the top, which a lot of D linemen are going to do, right? So that's why we say a pin is a 2-phase block. We're going to step and stop his penetration right now. And then you're going to know, you guys, today the first drill I did with the line, Daniel, what was the first drill we did today with hands on the, remember the back plates?
Yeah, lean.
Where I made them lean and drive, and then what did I have the linemen do?
Lean and...
They'd rock their weight side to side, so we had to push-pull. This is why we did that. Because as this guy's weight and body position starts to move outside, I've got to be able to, I've stopped pin, but now I've got to get my weight up here to stop his pursuit. And you'll see him really fighting pressure with pressure here, and we have to work this a lot. See how he pins him hard? He keeps him, he doesn't penetrate, does he? Now he tries to play over the top, so you see how he's got to fight? The guy's trying to get over the top of him, and he's got to fight his hip to keep that from happening.
It goes almost from like a pin block
to a reach.
Yeah, exactly, to a reach block.
It turns in a pin to a reach is what it really does. That's exactly right. You know, you'll see a great example here. Remember I told you I don't like to come to balance with my players. Watch my left guard here as he wraps. We cross-blocked that. My guard gets out here on the linebacker. See how he just tries to run through him?
Yeah.
Just gets him off balance enough to let the back go. Helps when your back's 4-4. This is another good example. This is my tight end here. This is a great pin. He pins him, and then you see how the guy's trying to fight back across?
Yeah.
And so he's keeping his hip on him. It shows well from the end zone. It's good by that D lineman. He's fighting. He feels the down block. He's trying to get back over top of it right here. So Spencer really hangs on and tries to fight it right there. He's trying to fight his hip into that hole as long as he can, keeps enough of it, and a little bit of holding never helps, never hurts. Down block, I believe the guard tackle here is a good one. Watch my tackle here. This guy tries to slant across his face. He steps down, feels the pressure, runs him across the gap. See how he's underneath his armpit right there? Guy's trying to spin out, but he won't let him. He puts his hip, he gets his hip upfield and doesn't let him come up out of the play. All right, puts us into reach blocks. Most of you are probably doing a lot of reaching, so I want to talk about this. All right, do you guys use covered, uncovered rules?
Yeah, we did in the beginning, but I think my players have forgotten about it.
All right, what do I mean by covered, uncovered rules? Anybody?
No? You remember?
It's like if I have like an outside zone on the right side, and I have a D tackle that's standing on the left side, I'm uncovered, so I can go.
I'm going to make it real simple for you. Here's how we do it. Head up the play side. My right tackle right here, he's in a right-hand stance, he'd be right tackle. If we're running outside zone to the right, does he have a man head up to play side shoulder right here? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes, he's covered. He has a down lineman on him, and I literally make him stand there and do this. Outside zone to the right. Is there a guy here to here on you? If you are covered, that is your guy. If you are uncovered, say I'm the right guard to him. Is there anybody here to here on me? No, so I'm uncovered. My first step is different if I'm covered or uncovered. If I'm covered, I'm going to take a deep 45 and attack his outside shoulder. If I'm uncovered, I'm basically deep pulling to try to get around the next down lineman. We reach and run to his hip. Okay? We're keying his hip. If he plays inside, who's going to take him? The guard will. If he stays out there, I've got to try to get him reached. My goal is to reach him. I'm not trying to do anything else. If I can get him reached, I'm going to turn him in and let my back go. Most D linemen, as Coach Hart will probably tell you later, they're going to try not to get reached. So if he wants to stretch me all the way to the sideline, that's fine with me. As long as I don't ever what? Come off the block. I've got to stay on him and let my back make a cut. All right? But this is something we work a lot, and we've become a pretty good reach and run team.
Coach, just a question for you. Looking back a few years on the clinic, we talked uncovered and covered on the inside zone, but on the outside zone, we did the reach for the next down lineman. And that was the only rule, and I think that's really kind of what we're applying.
Reach and run to the next down lineman.
Exactly. Because
that's the next guy for him.
Because since we're playing at a tempo that the D-line isn't always lined up,
it's what you got to do.
So we don't really get into the covered, uncovered, because we don't know where they're going to line up because they're still moving.
It's the same
So when we snap it, we're just going to be running and reaching. You know?
That's good. Now notice how Trey's turned his shoulders a little bit, but not completely. He's done that because if this guy slants inside, he's got to get a piece of it. Yeah. Does that make sense? Now, if there was a guard here with him, the guard would be completely turned. When I watch outside zone or any tosses from my sideline film, I ought to see the numbers of my uncovered guy on the sideline camera. Okay? This is a good first step. He gets depth. We have to give ground to gain ground on outside zone. What I really like that he does well, once he engages, watch his inside arm pull and his outside arm push. You see how he's pulling and turning his body to get his hip where he wants it to go, right there? That's what we want. Reach block on the left, it's the same kid. He's pretty good at this. Now he's almost beat here. That guy's got his outside shoulder, doesn't he? But watch what he does. Watch his push-pull, guys, and watch. He's going to pull with his inside arm, push with his outside arm, and throw his hip outside. Look at this. Boom. Gets him reached now, doesn't he? Ball's gone. Stays on his block. Runs his feet. Feet never stop. Reach, pull, run, finish when we get a chance to.
So what's the key to getting the kids kind of to swing their hips around on the same time as they kind of push them forward?
We work it all the time. We work hips constantly. Look how wide this. Most teams aren't going to reach a 5 technique that wide. But we can do that because once he gets his hands on him, he knows how to pull and throw the hip. You pull the body to you, you throw the hip outside.
It's the referee watching.
Yeah.
Was that the correct step for the uncovered center?
I didn't look at it.
Okay.
If you're asking me that, the answer is probably no. Good. Hey, they're not perfect, I'll tell you that much. All right, so here he's got a guy. Now watch this. This DN stretches with him. He's just running. See how he's just fighting? That's good for us. We'll stay on that as long as we have to. I know I've got a clip of that somewhere because we get a ton of that. Guys are always worried about our outside game. Here he is. Look at my tight end up top. Right here. Watch him engage and run this guy to the sideline. This end does a really nice job of not getting reached. He's fighting. Just stay on it. Run him all the way to the end.
Great freaking
We converted this kid to tight end from fullback 2 games into the year because our tight end was out for the season. I'm very big on staying on blocks, guys. If we can't stay on blocks, we're not doing things the right way. All right, last thing I want to show you here is power double teams. I get asked from a lot of coaches, I don't do a lot of things the right way. One thing that I think we've done pretty well everywhere I've been is we run the shit out of power. We run power well. I was with a guy at Ohio University, Kevin Leitner, who's actually coaching in Japan now. Played at Nebraska, coached at Ohio. Damn good line coach on teaching the power techniques. Got to Auburn. Hugh Nall was very big on power at Auburn. Power is an A-gap run play. A lot of teams are running power off tackle. We are an A-gap power team. Our back reads A to B to C gap. We talked about power a lot 2 years ago. Yeah. We basically did it the whole clinic. And in order to do that, We are big on plate. Like most teams will run the power to the B-gap bubble. I like power to the 3 technique. I like it because I run midline at the 3 and then I'm going to double the 3. I'm going to read him and I'm going to double him. I love power to the 3 because the 3 tends to be a big D tackle that I can set in the lap of a linebacker. I like that. In order to get good movement, true power, when we block, we try to punch on which step, our first or our second? Your second step. A lot of people, when they double team, they all step to the guy right away and put his hand on him. Well, I don't have any power when I do that. All right, it takes away my power, first off. The other thing is, what a lot of guys are going to get is, if you're messing with that 3 technique a lot, what are a lot of teams going to start to do with him? Slant him and move him, okay? So if we're doubling him and I step right at him and he crosses my face, we covered this today. He crosses my face, I'm screwed because my help is on my left side. So here is my rule for double teams. I've done this for a long time now and we have had no problems with this. We've had nothing but success. We have general rules. You always step the direction you're going. Our double team is the exception to the rule. If I am the inside guy of the double team, the inside guy, I take what's called a pop step. So right here, this is a center and a left guard. We're doubling back. My left guard, I call the inside guy the postman. You guys remember what I call the outside guy from today? The mailman. The postman, he holds up the fence. He sets up the block. The mailman delivers the mail. This guy's got to put a blow into his hip to move him that way. Why the hip? Coach Hart, what were you teaching the D-line to do today when they get doubled?
They pull and squat.
They pull and squat and they drop their hip in that hole. So I teach punch the hip to try to move the hip out of the hole. We used to teach shoulder angles and then have changed that and it's been a lot more successful for us. So we're trying to hit his hip. This guy's full throttle. I tell this guy, load your outside foot and you hit that freaking hip as hard as you possibly can. This guy's job is to protect the backside gap. So he's got to pop step away from his help. And then once he's engaged, he's supposed to put his hip in the hole and help pull that defender as that outside blow comes. So when he gets hit from this angle, I'm going to kind of pull him to help the momentum take him the other way. And this has worked well for us. And then obviously eyes are on the backside backer. But that pop step, do you see how we get into the guy at the same time?
Yeah.
That pop step, now he false steps, which I hate.
Yeah, you just have him lift his foot in.
It should just pick up and put right back down quick, and we work it constantly. This one will probably be pretty good. So my left guard here is going to pop step.
Yeah.
He doesn't even move his foot hardly at all here. He kind of hops in place. My outside guy is full throttle. This is one of our power reads. So you're going to get your double team, I think, up here on the top. There it is. Take him for a bit of a ride right there. So my left guard and my center are in a double here, power double. Doubling the nose, running this into a double eagle. You see how they're cutting our guards? We get shit like that all the time from D linemen. But power hits right up inside. Oh, this is really good. Watch my left tackle and my tight end. My left tackle is going to pop step, hold this up. Watch the tight end come hit the hip. Watch what it does to the D lineman. Boom. Gets him out of the hole right now. Look at that crease we find. We're trying to move his hip right into the linebacker level. Hold, hit. This is left side. I think we get a good power double team here on the left side. Yeah, that's a really good one. We pick up both guys. Our running back was decent. Okay, here's another one right here. He's the guy that's the inside man. He's going to pop step, hold it up. He's going to deliver the blow or work him back. Then we work right up to the backer. Now, we have a rule on this. That's why I put this clip on there. People start jacking around with linebackers, okay? Our rule is anytime a linebacker gets his feet to the heels of the D lineman, we're going to count him. We're going to go to him right now. We make a now call. So as he moves up here, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this guy doubling because he's walked up. So basically, if I had a guy in this gap, we wouldn't double him. We'd both be down blocking. All right? Last rule with our double teams. This is a general rule in my entire offense, and there's no exception to it. And my linemen know this. This is like probably our number one rule. Anytime you have a down block, if there is no immediate threat in your gap, you're going to double the next guy out. All the time, no exception. If it's zone, no. If it's an inside zone, it stays up. Outside zone, it does not. But say I'm the left guard, and I line up, and there's nobody here in my gap, but my rule is the down block on this play. Power, I should be down blocking. Well, there's nobody here. What's my number one rule if there's nobody in my gap on a down block? Double team. Boom, I'm going to pop, take him, ride him to the backside. Regardless. So 90% of our plays we end up with double teams on because of that rule on down blocks, which has helped us quite a bit.
So, Coach, a question for you.
Yes.
Running the power double team and kind of what you're saying about the walked up linebackers.
Yes.
Is that how you would treat a blitz as well?
Yeah. So, well, if it's from depth, no.
Well, if it's a linebacker.
If it's from depth, we just have to see it.
Yeah.
And if we're getting a lot of that, I'll run outside or we'll tighten our splits down.
Okay.
But see right here, these guys, you see how their feet are back? And this is how I watch film with my linemen. When we're scout filming, we're looking at feet to see normal linebacker depths. If they're normally at 3, if they're normally at 4, they're inside of that, and we think he's adding himself per scouting report, we'll make a now call and abandon the double team. If we think we can do it, we'll just drive the D lineman into his lap.
Yeah.
Here's a double team again. This is our tight end and tackle. You'll see they're going to move him to here. See the inside guy pop steps, the outside guy punches. As his hip goes away, see how the inside guy pulls him down to the inside? Yeah. We like that. Look at the gap that creates.
So you got to have the inside guy being quite aware of the outside blow coming. And
absolutely.
When that happens, he kind of pops his hips into place.
And I tell my outside guy, if you feel him disappearing because the inside guy is taking over the block, punch through the hip and go. Look at how he ends up low, and then we run through linebackers. We're aggressive at linebacker level. We run through them.
Does that count?
I don't know what the hell we're doing here.
Counter trap. Oh, no, it's trap with fullback.
Yeah, the freaking wing on the left side's dumb. Our right side wing is completely wrong here. I don't know what the hell he's doing.
Both guys.
Oh, here we go. Coach Hart, a little over here. All right, double team with my tight end and tackle here. The backer's cheating up. We let him run. Just get in that double team, drive him to second level. That's just lead option is all that is.
What's your right guard doing?
Chasing a guy, playing like shit, getting me fired.
He looked like he was lost.
From the sideline, look at this one. Look at the double team on the top right.
Ooh, very nice.
Now, I don't like that, actually. The reason I don't is that makes it really hard to get to. If the D-line does their job, they take up 2 guys. Our kids love this stuff. This is a problem for me. My mailman doesn't deliver enough of a blow. Do you guys see that here? The tight end doesn't bring the blow. So the double team ends up outside. The double team should be over here running into that linebacker is what it should be. This screws up the play for me. Because if they put the double team where it needs to be, that safety right there that we're making miss, my center would actually be on that safety. But then my running back can make him miss. Here's our reach progression. If we're uncovered, you see how we open up wider? And then uncovered to linebacker level, you're going to see we reach and run, and then run through. Same thing. We're going to run through, guys. I think I've got some film on this. It's pretty good here. So my tight end over here on the right, you see he reaches and runs into our wing first, then comes off on the backer. Got a better film than that one here, I would think. Okay, here's a great example. Watch my right tackle here where the arrow is. I don't care if he's under control.